How to locate and find the positioner finger. First step is I like to remove the foot and the stitch plate. So you're just going to loosen this screw, take the foot off, and loosen these two faceplate screws. Off the stitch plate. Take out the bobbin case. And you can kind of see the positioner finger through this side right here. This is it right there. I'm touching it with my flathead. It's this piece right there. At it, you can either take off your feed dogs with a long flathead coming from a angle like this, or use a 90-degree flathead. And just go ahead and undo these two screws. So this is the positioner finger right here. This little part right here, this whole entire bar, and then this is the little spring, and there's the screw. It's pretty much three parts: the screw, the bar, and the little spring. You want to make sure, pretty much what this does is you can see this is the basket that holds your bobbin case. And you can see it moves a little bit, and that little spring kind of helps with the vibrations of that basket and keeping the basket in place. Well, if that little tiny spring gets bent out of place or comes loose from that screw, threads can get wrapped around here and cause issues. So to replace this little spring, if we are having issues, we can either do so from the top up here. However, it's pretty hard, so I'm going to show you how to take the positioner finger completely out and replace the spring and then reinstall it. I turn the machine on its back, grab a Phillips head screwdriver, and undo 6 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I like to put all my screws into a little metal basket like this, so that way nothing goes missing. So once I have those 6 screws undone, we can go ahead and take off this bottom cover, and now is a good time to wipe this clean. And if there's a whole bunch of excess oil, then you know you're over oiling, but this is looking pretty good actually. So now that we have this off, we can see all the metal components on the Juki TL. Everything looks pretty good. And now we're going to locate that positioner finger screw that holds it on there, and it is the screw right here. But I'm going to go ahead and just use a Phillips head screw and undo that screw. So now that I have that positioner finger screw out, the positioner finger kind of just sits there in place, and it's important to note how it's sitting. As you can see, the basket of the machine, it sits right in that little gap, holding the position of the basket. So now I'm going to just remove this positioner finger. You can just pull down on it ever so slightly, and here it is. So now we're just going to replace that little spring. Obviously this one's in good shape, so we don't need to, but refer back to the attached picture, or I'll pop it up here on the screen of how this should look. It should be flush with that little metal bar. So this little spring should be flush with this bar, so there's no spot there, and it should be pretty flush on the top as well. Just like that. Okay, so now that we have that all good, obviously now your basket can move side to side, and you can't reinstall the positioner finger until that basket is facing up, because that little slot is where this positioner finger holds it. So what I'll do now is I'm going to put you back on the bipod. So we're going to squeeze on through here, and it might help to, you can use the handle to adjust that a little bit, but you're just going to squeeze on through here, kind of get that in there, and then make sure that once this is installed, it's just see here. So you want to make sure that little positioner finger is holding that basket. Well, let's see. So right there, it's holding that basket. So when you rotate the hand wheel, the basket should move like that. It doesn't move a full 360. That's what the job of the positioner finger is for. So now I can grab my Phillips head screw and go ahead and don't tighten it down all the way, but get it nice and almost tight. And then I'm going to grab a flat head and just push up right here, adjusting that positioner finger so we have it all the way up. And then we can tighten it down all the way. Just like that. So now, checking my basket, making sure it's not moving, perfect. And you can see that there is a gap on the top of that screw on the top side, and that's it. So now we're going to reverse the process to put this all back together. I'm going to reverse the process and put the bottom cover back on. I find that it's easiest to scoot this sucker all the way to the edge of the table like that, and then putting the cover on, because the cover sometimes doesn't want to go on if it's sitting on the table like that. So I put a couple screws in like this, and then I'll scoot it back and I'll put the rest in once I put a couple in. Now I can scoot it back and do the rest of the screws. So now that I have all the screws on the bottom end, I'm going to check out that positioner finger and see how it looks from the top. And as you can see, looks pretty good. It's holding that basket in place. It should be right here if you can't see it. This is it. Zoom right there, see if you can see that better. So this is it right here. You can see the metal part and then the little spring right there. And then you can see the basket moving back and forth. So it looks like we installed it correctly. So now we are going to put the feed dogs back on. To put these back on, I like to put them on like this. Now's a good time to clean them. Just go ahead and put the screws in. Don't put them in all the way tight yet. Put them just nice and snug, but not super tight. And then put your stitch plate on, and just make sure this isn't rubbing against the stitch plate, and then go ahead and tighten everything back down. So I just snugly put these on, feed dogs on so they move like this, and then I'll go ahead and put my stitch plate on like that, making sure the feed dogs aren't touching the edge of the stitch plate, also making sure the stitch plate is lined up with the threads. Sometimes you can even put the screws in just to make sure it's lined up, and if it looks good like it does now, I'll go ahead and tighten up my feed dogs. So it looks pretty good. Take this off carefully and go ahead and tighten up the feed dogs. Kind of just hold them in place. Just slowly tighten it until you know it's not going to move, and then you can tighten it down more. All right, so now we're good to go there. Put this on, make sure nothing's rubbing. Looks good. It's a little close over there, but you won't really know until you put the faceplate screws all the way down, because that seats the stitch plate perfectly. I like to just get it started with your fingers and then finish it up with the T-screw. Or in this case, a long flathead. Yep, feed dogs are good. Stitch plate's on tight. Now my machine's all clean and happy to go. Happy to start sewing. All right. And that is how you fix the needle positioner finger. Thanks for watching.